You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and... she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Thoughts of suicide may feel impossible to overcome, but with help and support, you can find hope and meaning. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK to speak to a counselor, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. It's free, it's confidential, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if it feels like it, you're not alone.
It's been a long, bumpy ride sitting back in the saddle. It's time to get down, dirty up.
even.
Okay, let's start over. Hey,
They have tech issues.
So our sound went down, and when we started, I thought that they could hear us. Yeah, you can hear us now, right, guys?
Did you try turning it off and turning it back on again?
I did. That's exactly what I did. Okay, we're gonna start over. Good evening. Welcome to Cyber Wars. We've had like a whole lot of Mondays in a row here without missing a show, except for like the last 5 minutes. We haven't missed being on air. We haven't missed being on air in quite a while. So, yeah, when I was playing the intro music, I was like, I didn't test that channel. I should have tested that channel. Talk, Ordy. Let's make sure they can hear you.
And this even just shows that, it's like our third.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's having microphone trouble at the moment. Hopefully he'll be joining us soon. Even tech people have tech trouble.
Oh my gosh, I think we're the worst, right? Because we walk around and whatever with like more technology and more toys and more tools and more stuff, right? So we have more things that can break.
I'm actually I'm gonna give another one of those. Even tech people do stupid things. I really like Chromebooks for their affordability. I don't use them, but for people on low income, I think they're great. The one problem with is that they are entirely dependent upon an internet connection for even the slightest bit of functionality. You can't even log into one without an internet connection because it validates, it authenticates you through the Google server. So I've got a client I was at today. I almost bricked her laptop because I kept hammering away at her password, not realizing that she didn't have an active internet connection at that moment.
Oh dear.
So yes, even tech people do dumb things because we're looking for the higher magnitude problem without the simple. Did you try turning it off and turning it back on again?
Yeah, exactly. And we were telling those war stories, where it's always like somebody that's not even supposed to be that connected to the problem, or the person who doesn't work in the network operations center that tells the network operations center, hey, you might want to try rebooting the server. Oh, yeah, we've been troubleshooting this problem for 5 hours, and we haven't tried rebooting the server. Reboot the friggin' server. Anyway, yeah, so we were telling a bunch of those stories. So, yeah, we have lots of we do stupid stuff all the time, and we like to tell those stories because we hope it makes you feel a little bit smarter when you do brick something. So, and I hear some dings, and I hope that it's Stoner.
I hear him fading in and out, and I just hope that he's worked out his mic problem.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, Lou, how are you? It's been a whole week. No, wait, was I on? Yeah, it's been a week. I wasn't on any other shows that you produced this week.
No, not this week, but soon. Yeah, it's been an interesting week. Cryptography has maths, but I'm doing pretty well in it. How about you?
I'm doing good. It's, aside from me feeling bad for almost bricking a customer's laptop today, I feel great.
Yeah, it happens. It's nerve-wracking with working on other people's stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you break it, it's not yours.
Right, yeah. So, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
yeah, right.
Fortunately, I'm also the guy who can fix it, too. I broke it, I can fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully I can fix it without having to buy you another one. Yeah, but yeah, that can be really nerve-wracking.
Hey, we got it.
Yeah, I heard the crackle. I was like, hopefully that's him. You're crackling though, buddy. I'm gonna guess he's on a Windows machine. Yeah. Aw. had to mute again. All right. We can hope for the best with Jeff. Nope. Yeah. You're still crackling.
No, just get talking, Jeff. No words.
Yeah. So anyway, if he doesn't get it fixed like right this second, we'll get him fixed during the break. So there he is. Okay. All right, good. All right, so let's get into our first topic. The first thing we want to talk to you about is Microsoft had a major breach.
Jeff, you're really loud, man. I'm even picking up the breathing.
You got everything fixed but your volume, dude. We're fine-tuning it now, right?
Oh, listen, I'm hating it.
No, you're cool. You're cool.
Hopefully that's better.
Yeah, yes, that's better. So, we are, Microsoft had a major breach, and we're going to tell you about this. Some of it's pretty interesting. Talk about people doing stupid stuff. People that should know better doing stupid stuff. Microsoft pulled a big fat one, did they not?
Oh, it could have been a lot worse, but it was pretty bad.
I don't know. How could it have been a lot? Oh, it could have been a lot worse. It could have gone for like a lot longer, right? So the information could have been out there and accessible a lot longer, and they could have found hacker footprints all over it. That would have been worse.
It also could have been worse is that if they didn't redact most of the private personal information out of it.
Yeah.
Let's tell the story, and then we can talk about how it could have been worse.
Okay, so Microsoft has had a repository of 14 years of what it sounded like to me was online chats. It was customer service information from customer service contacts, right? So it sounded like online chat. So you go on to Microsoft and contact support in the chat pops up and you're talking live in a chat with Microsoft. It could have been they really didn't, I didn't see where they went into detail about exactly where the data came from. It could have been back-end data that the customer service reps entered while you're talking to them on the phone. So we don't know that it didn't include information that came from phone calls that you made to Microsoft as well. So if you got your customer service by calling them on the phone, don't necessarily assume that that you weren't affected by this in some way. And the reason that I say that is it is a good time. This is the most important thing that I'll say about this. The rest of it's just interesting. It is a very good time right now to change your passwords for your OneDrive, for your Microsoft system, for your Windows machines, for Outlook, anything that you use that's Microsoft that you have a password for. Change your password now, because there is some good news. It could have been worse, and we're going to talk about that, but be safe, change your passwords. So
yeah, now in this breach, all they got were email. They got email addresses, IPs, no personal information, no real personal information other than that, unless it was in the confidential notes of the conversation, which is ironic because your actual information wasn't compromised, but the confidential notes. Let's say that again. The confidential notes got compromised.
Right.
So, and this is really, it really affects high-value targets because it gives, people who usually contact Microsoft support at this level are at the enterprise level. So you're talking like Jeff Bezos calls up and says, hey, I'm having trouble with my Windows, or, just as an example. So they're not worried about Forty Packard, but they're looking for email addresses that would be like Bezos at Amazon.com.
Right. If someone found it, then yes, it definitely would have been those kind of targets that they were digging through. But there's so many different ways that it could be used, and there's so much information in there, and there's so much. This was the disturbing thing to me, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the breach that we were reading about that had ended up on Elasticsearch servers. So, and how many did it say it was on? Was it 2 or 5?
Oh,
it's like 5 or 6.
It was. Yes.
Yeah, Elasticsearch. Yeah, Elasticsearch is it's used by a lot of OSINT people, for open source intelligence people, for open source intelligence, and I mean, you know, it's definitely a tool that hackers could, and at state level or state sponsored actors definitely could use. We don't know that. We don't know what servers they were. They didn't seem too concerned about it. What Microsoft's official word on it was that there was no sign of malicious intrusion or malicious activity or something like that. So if those servers had been, those particular servers they found it on, had been questionable or malicious, then, you know, they have a responsibility. I mean, people are regulated at this point. Microsoft, and if you don't know how regulated businesses work, which I'm sure you probably do, so you know that the deeper your pockets are, the more the government scrutinizes you, and the more likely they are to come after you, because the thing that they love more than taxes, believe it or not, there's something that the government loves more than taxes, it's fines.
Yes.
Yeah, they love to fine their regulated companies. So
this was 14 years. This was 14 years of records from 2005 to 2019. The breach was only active for 26 days. It went in. The server rules were changed on December 5th, and they were fixed on December 31st last year.
Right, and so this is why, you know, I laughed when Orty said it could have been worse. But it's also why Orty is right when Orty said it could have been worse. It could have been 60 days. It could have been 20 years of data. It could have been accessed by, you know, people that they thought were malicious. It could have ended up on 10 Elasticsearch servers. I mean, yeah, it could have been worse.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing, we've talked about it in the past, on how identity thieves will build a profile where one little bit of information isn't enough, but all these little bits of information that get out, there's databases full of your information that, you know, the identity thieves have put together. The email that they stole from Microsoft, the PIN number that they stole from an RFID scanner at a gas pump, so on and so forth. You know, it goes on and on and on. But that's how they build a profile, so that way they can completely and thoroughly steal your identity.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. So, all of that's really interesting, but the most important thing we said was change your passwords.
Change your
Now
passwords.
the next question is my Zune affected?
Your Zoom?
Zune. That was Microsoft's brief foray into MP3 players when the iPod came out.
Oh, yes. Okay, now I remember. I was thinking about the conference call thing, program, application, Zoom, because, you know, there is a vulnerability in those, but maybe we'll talk about that another week. So we were going to do a couple of internet safety tips, which are just really simple. So this is about using a browser online, Chrome, Firefox, whatever you're using. All I have is 2 tips. I don't know what these guys have, but I just have 2. Number 1, don't save any passwords in your browser. I see malware after malware after malware that goes after those passwords. So don't do that. I use a password manager that is not in the cloud, that is just on my machine. It's difficult to crack, and of course, like everything, the more complex your password is, the more difficult they are to crack. And the more random they are, the more difficult they are to crack. So, but I don't keep it in the cloud because I feel better with it just locally on my machine.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind using them for passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I use a random password generator anyway, so I don't even remember my own password, so it's not like they're going to get it from me from waterboarding.
Right.
It's like, okay, I know that you've been down on Norton because it's bloatware. It's bloaty for antivirus.
It just clogs up a Windows. It just makes it run like crap. That's the only thing that bothers me about Norton.
It does, but again, for the home user who wants the Swiss Army knife, Norton Internet Security, they do have a password keeper that saves your passwords locally, but you do have to log into it via your browser. So it's kind of like a two-step thing where you have your password that you log in on Norton's website with that will bring up your password keeper, and you can either go to it and look for it, or it will autocomplete in the browser for you.
Yeah.
Which I like. I mean, a lot of the password keepers will do that, but they're really spotty when it comes to auto-completing, especially like two-factor websites that you have two-factor authorization on. They're really terrible at that.
Uh-huh.
But Dashline is a good one. If you're not already using a VPN, it's a good one. It's a little expensive if you are using a VPN, and I don't like that it doesn't let you pick the country you're popping out from. But Dashline is a good, if you're looking for I want a separate tool for everything, like we recommend Malwarebytes, and Dashline is a good password keeper.
Yeah, so, and I use it depends on what I'm on, but the thing about Norton, if you don't have 100 gigabytes of virtual machines on your laptop, you might not have the same problems that I have. So it might work just fine for other people. It's like you said, bloaty for me, and it's always slow.
No, it is bloaty, but it's like I've talked about. It does have a VPN. It does have a password keeper. It does have a lot of tools in it. It's a really good Swiss Army knife.
That's kind of like the McAfee services. If you get the higher end ones, it kind of has a little bit of everything as well.
Right.
Yeah, and the analogy is great too, with it being a Swiss Army knife, because the bigger the Swiss Army knife, the harder it is in your pocket.
Yeah, I think that's a really good.
Yeah.
Norton is very big.
Right.
And it's the one with the magnifying glass and the scissors and the toothpick and all the things.
Yes, all the things. And then so, and the other thing that we wanted to say is there is a thing. It's a service, but that's kind of a funny term because people think that of those things as things that you buy or add. But there's a type of program that runs in your browser called WebRTC, and it's a service that will open a peer-to-peer network. If you don't do any gaming or downloading from peer-to-peer sites, or what else do people use peer-to-peer for? Chats?
Very little anymore.
Right.
Exactly. Most of the channels, even Discord, when it started, was peer-to-peer. Now it's quasi peer-to-peer.
Uh-huh.
Now, like Skype, it's handled on their cloud servers.
Well, and that's because of the vulnerabilities and the lack of security. So there you go. That right there tells you that WebRTC is not really something that you want running in your browser unless you know that you're going to use it. It opens up vulnerabilities, and it can make you vulnerable to a lot of different web-based malicious activity. So you want to block that. Google, Chrome, I do not know about Brave, but if you're using Brave, I don't think you have to worry about WebRTC anyway, but I'll check that and make sure. I should have. Yeah, I didn't think that you did. So if you're using
Brave is one of the most secure browsers. I mean,
it is.
Really
well, and that's a really good point. I mean, I would recommend that as a browser. That would be my number one recommendation as a browser. And but Firefox and Chrome both make it really easy because they have extensions, and they're good. So the top three, and I can't think of any of them off the top of my head, but the top three that pop up are all good ones. One is a shield with a green W in the middle of it. Well, it's green when it's on and it's red when it's off. And I think it's just called WebRTC Blocker. But that's a really good one. And that one is cleaner. Actually, I'll look real quick. It's cleaner and it's smoother and it runs a little better than the other ones. So that's the one.
You just made me think of it when you were talking about extensions. It's kind of like an ass-backwards security feature of Microsoft Edge, in that it recommends you shut down extensions that are slowing down your browsing experience. And it's not saying, hey, these extensions might be spoofy. It's saying this is kind of bogging you down. And every time I see one of those on a client's computer, if one of those pops up, it's usually something like that.
What, the WebRTC blocker?
Yeah. No, like WebRTC. It's like, it's the malicious shit that's bogging down the browser. So the browser says, hey, you've got this extension that if you turned it off, I'd be faster. And then you look at the extension, you're like, holy shit, that's malware.
Okay, so the one that I have in Chrome on my Mac is WebRTC Protect. Mm-hmm. So it protects you from leaking private information and public IPs through WebRTC. So basically it's blocking the service. And I just described the one that's in Firefox. I don't know, if people are really even using Firefox anymore. But if you do...
I use them all.
Yeah. And if you do any web development, you have to have them all to see what the website looks like on all of them. But, so, that's the other tip. Block WebRTC.
I use Brave for my cryptocurrency and for my Twitter, for my social media, and then I'll use Firefox for various other things, and I'll use Chrome for shopping because I like Google to know everywhere I shop so they can really get those targeted ads.
I know, right? You might miss a deal. If Google doesn't know everywhere you're shopping, you might miss a deal and not get a spam email that you were expecting. And I laugh, but I use Chrome for a lot, and I use Safari for a lot. But I also, if I'm doing anything that I'm like, I don't want somebody spying on me doing this. I open up Brave. I don't use Brave as much as I should. I will admit that.
Yeah. I should use it for a lot more. I use it for my real, like I said, banking and crypto and things that I want high security on.
Anything that crosses my mind where you go to a page that says HTTPS, I tend to use Brave. It's just a force of habit now.
Yeah, I think that's a good kind of way to go about it, actually, or a way to think about it.
It's a really light browser too. It's really
big time.
Really light. You can tell it, I don't want third-party trackers. I don't want any trackers. I don't. Granted, it will break some websites.
Oh yeah, big time.
Shit, it starts to break. That means there's a whole bunch of third-party ads on the site.
Yeah.
And Brave blocked it before even ad blocker goes, hey, there's ads here.
Yeah, I can mention some sites, but they're kind of friends of ours, so I won't.
Well, yeah, and if they're blocking, if it's blocking all your scripts, it's going to break a lot of stuff, right? So you're not going to be able to see
that's an option too. No scripts allowed.
Right, exactly, and it won't load, right? And then Like,
well, I'm gonna look at this from a newbie perspective because I'll be honest with you, I haven't delved that far into Brave. It's basic setup. Can you, like, if say you visit a certain page that a friend of KRLN used to, and well, she still writes at, and they have a bunch of ads. Can you bypass like individual websites so you can get past all these checkers and say, hey, I trust this website?
yeah, you can whitelist sites on Brave, can't you, Orty?
Yeah, you can whitelist sites on Brave.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yep, you can. And one of the there's one tool that so on one of my Linux VMs in one of my browsers, I have an extension. One of my Firefox browsers, I have an extension that I use because in this particular Linux distro, it comes already loaded, which was really cool. Which is a new thing. This latest version of this distro, that's the first time I've ever seen them do that, but I thought that was really cool. So, at any rate, so there's some extensions I know in Firefox, potentially in Chrome as well, that will let you whitelist sites and won't block the scripts on that site because you whitelisted the site, but they'll block the scripts on everything else. One other thing I will say, and then we're going to go to break. The other option to using Brave is using Chrome Incognito.
Yeah, that's very similar.
Right. Just from doing the forensics on them, I will tell you that, and the reason I'm telling you this is in the event that you got malware that was, pulling, because malware does this, spyware and Trojans do this, pulling information from your browser to send it back to a command and control server so they can totally own you and your entire life. The malware won't find anything in the databases for if you've been using Chrome Incognito. Firefox Incognito
has to launch each time, but yeah, it's
right. Yes, you have to launch it each time, but I think that they have I think there's a way to add a shortcut. Well, you know what? We'll go into that on the next show. This is kind of important. Firefox Incognito keeps they have a separate database on your system for their incognito browser where they still keep all of that information. So people that don't do forensics don't know this, but if you've ever been given a file and look for evidence on this computer, you know that it's there because you had to go looking for it, right? Chrome, on the other hand, it doesn't exist. Like, there's a folder that says, and there's a entry in the registry that says, here it is. So there's like a link to it, but there's nothing there.
So say, to tying into current events, so say I was to print something off to put on the windshield with like a guy with a gun. Sorry. Go on.
Jeff, it absolutely crossed my mind. The first thing that crossed my mind is I want that guy's computer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I absolutely can find the file. I can find where it's pulled to the printer. I'd own all the shit on that computer. Yeah, absolutely. I could prove it. The other thing is it can be, unless he has a solid state drive, it doesn't matter if he deleted it. Even if he knew where to delete it,
it's there.
It's there. It's always there. It's never not there. Hillary's deleted emails are somewhere.
Yep.
Guaranteed.
Tangential to that, talking about, for our political listeners and talking about the browsers and everything, if you really want to see a night and day difference of the internet, do a search in Google Chrome with Google, use Chrome with Google search, and then take Brave and use DuckDuckGo.
Oh, God, yes.
And not only are the results night and day, you want to see a real night and day difference, go to YouTube with Brave and do a search on YouTube.
Yes.
And then do the same search with Google Chrome. The results you get are
night and day.
Also, night and day different.
Yep, absolutely.
I haven't tried Brave yet on YouTube when watching some videos to see if I can not get those damn Michael Bloomberg ads to pop up every video I watch. But I digress, and we got to go to Brave.
We get the Steyer and the Sanders ones up here.
We do, but we don't have anybody after us. So I'm going to say one other thing about your phone. So I was given, this was a project for class. This was a lab, and I was given the image of the phone, which is basically a clone of everything that was on the phone. And I think this was like a final assignment, maybe, because it was really detailed. Basically, they said, these two people did this, right? So I think they were car thieves. Yes, they were car thieves. These two people stole cars. Here are their phones. It was two phones. Tell us everything we need to know about them, right? And there's a little more to this scenario than that, but right, tell us everything you can find on that phone. I was able to go into that phone, among other things, pull all the CIDs, which is a code that belongs to a cell tower. And every cell tower has a different CID or SID, or SID, and map by date and time stamp, and cell tower, their movements from start to finish, from the time they fired up that phone till the time it was seized.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too. And now that I've scared you all to death, we're going to go to break so everybody can take a deep breath. How does that sound? This is like the perfect song after that. We'll be right back.
Looky here, got them all lined up. Same bitchy girls and boys. On their hands, on their knees, slither through the streets. Programmed to seek and destroy, and it all adds up. And it all adds up. Oh my, no one's on my side. Too paranoid to listen to me. You can cast me out, you can tape my mouth, but you can't get a stone to bleed. And it all adds up. And it all adds up. You know I love it when you say you're afraid. Don't you hate it when I'm making you shake? Make the truth from the news, put a hit down on the loose. Now you're counting on and making your day. There ain't no magic bullet, there's no cure for the weak. There's no simple.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Take it back, been stealing my shit for years. So kiss my quiet, bad man's fire. You know I'm gonna bring you to tears.
Okay, we're back, and it looks like I scared everybody to death. There's a deep erase program that I can't remember the name of right now, but I'm going to share it with everybody when I do. They have an iPhone solution, but the iPhone store won't let them sell it there, so it's done online. But it can be done, and it's an Android app in the Google Store. It's not free, but, if you're worried about your security, you're going to trade in a phone, you want to do a deep erase, I've got the program for you. Okay, let's talk about the Norks, Orty.
The Norks. I love that phrase. I don't know why.
Every time you say that, Orty, I think of those little Smurf-like creatures that live under the water.
The storks. I think of the Saruman orcs, not the Sauron orcs.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I was about to go into a whole rant about the meats back on the menu, guys, because that implies they've been to a restaurant.
That's funny.
APT 37.
APT 37. I don't know. Get us started. So they've been around for a while.
Actually, no. As far as North Korean APT hacker groups, this one's relatively new. They started popping their head up about 2013. So yeah, I guess in the internet they've been around for a while, but as far as North Korean hacking groups, they're new. And this one is actually, they're kind of punked because a lot of people don't give them notice, but these were the ones that were responsible for the Sony hacks. These were the ones who, they really like to go after South Korea and South Korean online video games. But yeah, they're big. They're starting to get their britches up and go after people who have offended the state of North Korea, especially in the Middle East. Companies won't do business with North Korea. They're really starting to gain in profits. They're moving beyond the JV team, which I'm sorry, I don't think the Sony hack was a JV team thing, but they've always been treated as a JV team, even today. But they're actually one of the more, I think that they're a bigger threat than some of the other ones.
Well, I went through, so in 2007.
I would agree with that assessment.
Yeah, they're starting to move out of Asia. Like I said, they're attacking them. They're starting to move into the Middle East. They've really focused on Asia, specifically South Korea, Japan, Philippines.
They've even gone after Russia and China even a little, if what I was reading was correct.
Yeah, and they are. They've been cutting their teeth regionally, now they're going globally.
Yeah, in 2017 and 2018, this kind of relates to what you said about them being punk and not getting credit. But in 2017, 2018, they fished South Koreans like a half a dozen times or so, and several or quite a few of those times they used a malware called ROKRAT, right? Which I love the name of that, and I was like, I gotta look at it. So a RAT, R-A-T, is a remote access Trojan. This is basically a Trojan, which, you know, that's, everybody knows what a Trojan is. It sneaks in on some other software and takes over your system, collects information. Remote access Trojan is obviously a Trojan that can be controlled from a command and control server remotely, right? So, I really liked the name, and I was like, I need to see what this can do, right? Because I'm pretty interested in rats to begin with. And this is, and yeah, I hate to say this, but this is a pretty cool one. Some of the capabilities of it are really pretty standard kind of stuff, and some of them are kind of advanced, and it kind of sneaks in to a Windows process. It starts its own process. It injects a payload from there, and it just goes through this process of faking being part of the system. That's really kind of cool. So it just kind of fakes its way into your Windows system, like, hey, I belong here, like it's crashing a party, right? So it's kind of cool from that perspective. And it looked like to me that they actually developed this rat. I didn't see where it said that they hadn't.
Well, in the Wired article I read on them, they had mentioned that they were using some tools that looked like other tools that North Korean state hackers use. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they've kind of tweaked it. And their form of doing things, I don't know, did you read the Are You Happy rat that they put out?
No.
This one was, okay, in March of 2017, they put out the Are You Happy rat. And what this campaign did, they name all their campaigns too. Golden Time, Are You Happy, Free Milk, North Korean Human Rights, so on.
That's the one I find most actually interesting is the North Korean, but go on.
Yeah, but the names that they come up with are kind of clever.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm.
And what this one did with a rat was that it would write itself to the master boot record of the computer and then tell the computer to reboot itself. Then when it came back, all your computer was capable of displaying was "Are you happy?"
Which is so brilliant.
It's a system wipe and it's shitty, but that's if you're going to be shitty, that's a good one.
Yeah, and it's talk about getting trolled in the process, right? So you've been owned and trolled.
Yeah, right.
You didn't just get trolled. You didn't just get owned. You got owned and trolled.
Yep.
Yeah, and this was, they weren't even looking to exfiltrate data. This was just a straight...
This is a kind of a proof that they could do it.
Well, yeah, and it's also one of those, because Orty said if they go after people that have offended North Korea, that's the kind of thing that you do, that you pissed us off. We're gonna own you and troll you at the same time.
Well, my favorite one of those was the Human Rights Campaign, because of, I'm just imagining the target of this one, where they sent a malicious document about, the main purpose of the document was an attempt to arrange a meeting to discuss items related to the North Korean Human Rights Act and enactment of the law, which was passed in 2016 in South Korea. But the course of the document's true purpose was to infect unwitting victims. But can you imagine how many, Korean hippies and otherwise, it actually going, peace, love, dope, man, opened it.
Well, this was also politically during that time. This is when there was a lot of talk about South Korea and North Korea reunification.
Yes.
So that was that's another. They also did a campaign during the Olympics too, so they do pick very timely events.
There is a small amount of psyops in here that is admirable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, you kind of expect that, right, from the North Koreans.
Just coined a word in the chat, too. Troned. Going back to the Are You Happy with Trolled and Owned? Troned.
Okay, I'm using that.
So
yeah. It's this, yeah. I think we should call our chat room the Troned Room. It's too bad. It's too bad we can't put our own name to the chat room up there at the top. But yeah, absolutely. There's
no comment.
And the holdup with that, so I know we talked about the holdup is that we're having trouble getting the domain transferred over to us from the previous owner. Once that happens, we're golden. So there we have it. Moving on, back to APT 37.
Yeah, and so the free milk campaign, for instance, we were talking about the great names. Like free milk targeted non-Korean financial institutions. Free milk.
Right. Yeah, they actually, I saw this in the Wired article. They got tens of millions of dollars out of German banks during the free milk campaign, including banks in South Korea and other Pacific nations.
And what was the name of the first one that they did of the free milk one?
Well, it was two different payloads. Are you talking about the two? The first one is poo milk, and it's not spelled like poo, like poop, poo. It's like Winnie the Pooh. Right, exactly. POOH milk. And the second one was Frinky, free NKI.
Yeah.
Free North Korea, whatever. Internet.
I'm gonna make a comment about the poo milk because this is where my mind went. It would be a reference to the land of milk and honey.
I was thinking more of the Chinese dictator.
Well, but this predates when we started calling them poo, though.
I know. Makes me wonder, though.
Right.
That's actually brilliant, Orty. That might be what it is.
Here's why they still get punked, though. I read this, and this is what I kind of found fascinating. They were not on anybody's radar at all until their own OPSEC slip-up. Did you guys read about this one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so FireEye was tracking him down with some spyware that was uploaded during a zero-day Adobe update. And what had happened was apparently one of their own hackers had accidentally infected his own machine and uploaded his IP and all of his information with the address in Pyongyang up to the command and control server. When FireEye tracked out and hit that command and control server, that's when APT-37 got known as a North Korean entity.
Actually, not that uncommon.
Simpson's don't button.
It's actually not that uncommon for a hacker to get caught that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I just found it interesting because this is a state sponsor.
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's a major fuck up because they got caught that way, right? So, yeah. It's not a good thing, but I mean, it's a good way to catch people, which is probably why FireEye was looking for it to begin with. Let's see where they screwed up. Always look for where somebody screws up.
Yeah, and that was. I just found it interesting that until then they weren't on anybody's radar. They just thought that they were just a minor hacking group entity that were just annoying.
Right.
Until that happened, and then when they tracked back to Pyongyang, there are no non-state sponsored hackers in Korea. This isn't like we've talked about where with China or Iran where you have allies of the government or third-party entities working for the government. In North Korea, you don't have access to a computer unless you're working for the government.
Exactly. They have one, and I don't know if this is true anymore. They may have two, but there was if people remember the incident where their internet was brought down completely. supposedly it was done by Anonymous in retaliation for the Sony hack, because of the gamer thing. But who really knows who did it? But at any rate, their entire internet was brought down, and not really that big a deal because they have one top level IP address, which I'll let you explain, Jeff. One top level. So I'll let you explain the top level and how all the IP addresses apply to that under the top level.
I'm not even sure I could put it in simple terms.
Well, okay. So if your IP address is, I'm just going to make one up.
Yeah.
105.5.5.5. That's your IP address. The top level of that is 105.0.0.1. Or .0.0.0. Yeah, I forget, right? And everything that goes under that, and it's, all the way to 105.255. Everything under that is the next level, right? So it's not, so the top level IP is that 00, and everything that comes under it is under that. So they had one. So they basically had, I forgot what the number of IPs there are that are available, but
for the back two, I believe it's 65,000.
Yeah, something like that. But that is, I mean, if you think about it in terms of an entire country, that's nothing. And when you're talking about assigning IPs to a country,
well, I'll put it to you this: Trump Tower in New York City might have that many IPs located in all its apartments and cell phones.
Yeah, they probably have at least their own one or two top level IPs. And when you're talking about assigning IPs to a country, to just assign an entire country one top level IP, I mean it's nothing. Like, I don't know of any including Africa. I've never heard of another country that only has one top level IP.
No, even when I was beta testing for a small cable company that was just getting into the internet, they had access to more. And this was like 3 counties in Maryland.
Right. So, but if you think of it in the terms of hackers, right? So if there's 65,000 that exist under a top level IP, only 65,000 IPs available in the country that's a complete militaristic country that does have cyber warfare capabilities. You're not getting away with being on the internet at all without them knowing about it.
No.
So that's to Orty's point.
JC made a good point in the chat that most companies in the United States, large companies, Fortune 500 companies, have a top-level IP.
Yes.
And large hosts, large data centers have more than one.
Yeah, so. Ron is asking, did you just drop an F-bomb a few minutes ago, Lou?
Yes, Ron, I did.
The previous program contained coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion was advised.
Yeah, I don't put an explicit tag on this one. Uh-oh.
Sometimes we have an F-bomb drop on this show, and usually it's me. So. I don't know. We'll have to start counting them and see who does it more. Anywho.
Yeah, we did the swear counter thing once before.
Oh, really?
Now that I'm hosting, I'm not counting. Sorry.
I bet they'd count in the chat room for us if we asked them to. And Ron didn't miss. I didn't even say it out loud, and somebody else was talking, and Ron still caught
me. You're bringing out the hockey player in me. If you've ever heard a hockey player swear, you're in trouble.
Ron still caught me. Anyway, so
we did it on FUBAR for charity, and that got expensive.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Y'all did. Y'all had a swear jar.
I think the highest one was 73. The one I counted.
Yeah.
I still couldn't. I'm the one who's noticed to having the foul mouth, and I still couldn't get a third of what she dropped.
Oh, God, no. You had to try. You had to drop 10 in the last 5 minutes to catch up to at least a quarter of the level.
That's funny.
So, anyway.
So, anywho. Yeah, so, I mean, you can't, like, getting away with being on the internet without the North Korean government knowing about it, and being in North Korea, would be like me working at a company and downloading porn and the network administrator not knowing about it. It's not going to happen.
You'd pretty much have to be in the DMZ with a really good Wi-Fi signal in order to get South Korean internet for them to not know.
Maybe so that you can't get into the DMZ without... You can't go from North Korea into the DMZ without the U.S. government snipers shooting at you. So that's not going to happen. Right? I mean, so,
it's not a bomb, it's a laptop. I really, really, really need to see the results of the soccer match.
Right, exactly. I've got to watch America's Got Talent.
Don't catch this last episode of The Office, I will just kill myself.
I know, really. Game of Thrones is on.
Game of Thrones is on.
Yeah.
Things never heard in North Korea.
Right, exactly. So, so these guys, so that's like a really overcomplicated and long way of telling you that the hackers that don't work for the government don't exist in North Korea.
Yeah. So that's what made FireEye being able to catch him, is because what we thought was just to be a hacker group was actually proven to be North Korea state sponsored. That's the point we were making with all of that.
Right, and you can say, well, what were you thinking, FireEye? They're in North Korea and they're hacking. You think they're getting away with that without the government knowing?
No. They didn't, until that guy slipped up, they didn't know that it was coming until he got...
Oh, they didn't know that's where they were coming from. Right, and
they didn't know they were coming out of Pyongyang.
And yet, even though they've done that, the literature still says thought to be North Korean, right? They think that they're North Korean.
Well, that's just like, I mean, looking at FireEye sheets, everybody is suspected to be or thought to be. Yes, it's got a higher level of confidence than Jeff Epstein not killing himself. but yeah, they have to couch that in it because, lawsuits.
That's true. Most of the Russian groups are, they don't really say allegedly or thought to be, or they're pretty sure about the bears. But yeah.
But that's also why they don't have the standard why APT 37 doesn't have a standard North Korean moniker. Remember a few weeks ago we went through how everybody had, like the kitties in Iran and the bears in Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have that screwy one for North Korea. Their version of the Pegasus.
Yeah. Exactly, which I didn't even know it was a word, but is evidently a Dungeons and Dragons thing. So
we should have listened to my show last week. I might have mentioned it.
I did listen to your show.
Oh, I'll have to mention it another time then.
And the other interesting thing to me is that this is a group that, so MITRE says, is also called Lazarus Group.
Yeah, that's how they were originally known in the hacker world. That's when they were assumed to be non-state hackers. They got the Lazarus moniker.
Right, and Lazarus itself was a pretty well-known, well-established, and see, I don't know really how to explain it. They had quite a reputation. And, like, for instance, if you look at, because I didn't dig into them and remind myself of everything, but if you look at the references on the MITRE page about Lazarus, there are, and you guys know how many references we usually see for these things. There's 29 of them. So that in and of itself is pretty interesting. There are several U.S. CERT reports that reference them. So I mean, they are pretty. They were, and a lot of this is prior to 2017, right? So they were pretty well established prior to that too. So it's not that these guys haven't been around; it's that they really didn't know what to do with them. So from 2012, 2013 until 2017, because this was like 2017, 2018 that they actually located them, right? That FireEye located them. So for 5 years or so, they had excellent OPSEC, never tripped up, nobody knew where they were coming from. And it wasn't because they weren't busy, it wasn't because they weren't doing anything. They were targeting South Korea a good bit, enough, and some other places that a North Korean hacking group would, they would be prime targets for a North Korean hacking group, but nobody really knew where they were coming from.
Yeah, up until that in 2017, they were considered single threat actors. They were known as Lazarus. They were known as Group 123. They were known as Reaper. They had a lot of, other designations, but it wasn't until that slip up that they actually qualified as a state actor APT.
Right, because they were coming out of North Korea, so they have to be at APT. Right. Yeah.
Okay, I got to say, the skeptic in me, makes me wonder if they did the slip up on purpose now.
Well,
I don't know. That's kind of,
I know they're state sponsored, but man, some of these
I always think about
sponsored level, their pride.
Well, it could be that. I always think about that, right? I always think about that. Not just because it's a matter of pride for wanting to take credit for it. And yes, you're right to some extent. Every hacker is a fame fag, at least to some extent, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter if they're a kid in mom's basement or if they're state sponsored or if they're a 50-year-old professional that just can't help himself. But I also think about that from a perspective of is it a head fake?
I always look at is it a false flag? So yeah, is it a head fake?
Is it a head fake? Is it China? Using a North Korean IP, and because they could get away with that. Because what's North Korea going to do to China for hijacking an IP?
I mean, North Korea's in China, so China's in North Korea, so it's kind of like,
exactly.
It's coming from inside the house.
Exactly. And I mean, I've always had that theory, and I've talked to people about it that know way more than I do and are way more connected and have been doing this a lot longer, and they don't really disagree with me that there's a lot of Chinese activity that gets head faked toward North Korea. I
would also think it's like, they're not really fans of each other right now, but I also think that it would be just as likely that China would say, hey, go hack this.
Yeah, hey, go hack this, or we're going to hack this and blame it on North Korea, or we're just going to hack
a phrase from an old movie, chopper, sick, balls.
Yeah, that was a good movie. But yeah, absolutely. So, and I think that they do that. We've talked about this on previous shows with Russia and Ukraine. Like, if you can take down a power grid, you can hijack an IP to do a hack.
Dodge a ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hacker that was arrested and may or may not be extradited to the U.S. that stole all the credit card money, that had the FSB servers in his data center. You know, I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on. And when you're running operations, military operations through the internet, there's a whole lot you can do with it. To fake your location, fake your activity. I mean, you know, I could write a well, I can't write malware, but if I could write malware, I could insert some Chinese characters. It's a total head fake. This is Chinese malware. So, you know.
Yeah, it's not hard.
No, you can head fake things. Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, I always think about that, Jeff. It always occurs to me. But in the end, I think that they would have it, even if you're just looking at it from just regular hacker culture, or what makes more sense for a state actor. I think it would make way more sense, and it would be way more enjoyable for them, and they'd get way more satisfaction out of it for nobody to know where they were. Right?
I would agree on the whole.
Yeah.
But it just takes one little whack job to throw the wrench into everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I've got to take credit for this. You know, North Korea should get credit for this. And again, you know, they like to go after people who diss them, disrespect them. If at the time that it happened, people were saying things like, I always used to say North Korea doesn't have the infrastructure to hack. It's China. You know, North Korea doesn't really have hackers. They're Chinese hackers. Because I've been known to say that. I mean, you know, if people were talking like that, then, you know, they could have gotten, if people were disrespecting them, saying that, you know, Lazarus is really nothing, you don't have to worry about them, then who knows? Maybe they did. So, anyway, we're about 15 minutes over. So,
I should make up for about my mess up for the first 15 minutes.
What was that, Orty?
Well, I was going to say, given the fact that we restarted the show, I think we're okay.
We'll just ignore the first 6 minutes.
We're only 10 minutes over because we missed our first 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time is a relativistic concept.
It's a patriarchal construct.
Never change.
Never change. Okay. All right.
This
so.
is why they can't meme.
Yes, exactly. It was half the reason that they can't meme. The other half is that they just can't meme.
That and criminally over-vaccinated.
Yeah, maybe that's it. They can't shitpost either. Can't meme, can't shitpost. What are you doing on the internet?
Right.
Right, exactly. Get off the internet. You don't belong here. So
they can stalk like a little bitch, though.
What good is stalking if you can't shitpost or meme?
We'll have to ask that one individual.
Oh, yeah. Well, psycho's got a psycho, right? We had a great time tonight. I had a really good time tonight.
Yeah,
likewise, once I was able to join.
Yeah. Well, we were doing nothing the first 5 minutes anyway.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, we're doing old Sprint commercials. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah. So anyway, sometimes I test the audio before the show. Sometimes I don't. You just never know. Depends on the night. So, tell them where you're at, Orty.
Every Monday night with you two, obviously, and wouldn't miss it for the world. This week I am on the Culture Shift with Brad Slager, where we will be breaking down the, I'm sure, Grammys and other award ceremonies.
Oh, lovely.
It's award season, folks.
Woo-hoo. Fun. How about you? You got something going on Friday nights, don't you, Stoner?
Not this Friday, but next Friday. This week, this is the end until next Monday with you two, and then next Friday I'll have In the Crease, where I'll be talking about the four levels of civilization as presented by Michio Kaku.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and if you missed last week's show, you can go back and catch a replay, because it was a good one. And I'll be here tomorrow night with producing LL and Aggie. And I'll be producing Patriot Musket with Diane and Jody on Wednesday at 9. Both of those shows are at 9. So y'all be sure to catch those ladies, because they always have good shows. And we're all on Twitter. Cyber War Podcast is me. Ordy Packard is Ordy Packard. And Jeff is Stoner Brewing Company. So we appreciate you guys hanging in with our crazy tonight. It was particularly crazy, but we like it that way. And
what a way to start the week.
I know, and I'm sure we'll be back here next Monday. Please join us.
Summed up everybody's Monday with the first 10 minutes of the show.
Exactly. And y'all have a great week. We'll see you next Monday. Love y'all.
Peace, everyone.
Bye.
It's been a long, bumpy ride sitting back in the saddle. It's time to get down, dirty up our knees in the battle. Oh, come on, round up the boys, gonna make the walls rattle. Oh, our flag is tattered and our bones are shattered, but it doesn't matter, cause we're moving forward. Round them up, let's go. Round them up, let's go. We've been